Hello, everyone. Good evening or good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're tuning in from across Canada. I know a lot of us here online today are tuning in from BC or Yukon, but we're excited to see all those who are able to come in from across Canada and beyond. My name's Troy, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Nurses Specialized in Wound, Ostomy, and Continence Canada. And I'm so excited to be on today with a fantastic panel talking about maximizing impact, the management and nurse perspectives on SWANs in action. We're going to be recording today's session, so if you or your colleagues would like to watch this back later, or if you have to head out later today, that's totally fine. We're going to put it on our nswoc.ca website. We'll also put it on our SWAN page on our Walk Institute site, so you'll have a chance to watch it back later. And we are going to be doing a Q&A portion during this webinar. So while I can see everybody's using the chat already and everyone's familiar with that, letting us know where you're tuning in from, you can click on the Q&A button in your Zoom toolbar to ask questions. That'll make it super easy for our panelists to organize those and get to as many as possible. We're also going to be providing a certificate of attendance too for everyone online. Just give us a couple days and we'll get that into your inbox before the end of the week. So without further ado, I'm going to pass over the microphone and the slides to our expert guest with us today. So Shelly or Svea, I'm not sure who's starting first, but I'll pass it over to you. And thanks so much for putting this on today.
Thanks, Troy. Thanks for the introductions. Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us for a SWAN webinar. We've got a great panel discussion for you tonight, just to demonstrate how SWANs are making a difference in healthcare. So Saya and I will be moderating the discussion this evening. My name is Shelly, and I am an NSWOC working in long-term care in Victoria. And Saya, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Svea, and I am an NSWOC who works in the rural Kootenay region in British Columbia.
Thanks, Saya. So before I introduce the panelists, I'd like to acknowledge that the Wound Ostomy Continence Institute is located on traditional and unceded territory of the Algonquin-Anishinaabe people who have lived on these lands and cared for them long before white settlers arrived. We respect and honor these lands and waters and commit to ongoing stewardship for future generations to work, study, and to play here. I myself am joining as an uninvited third-generation European settler on the lands of the Lekwungen-speaking people on Vancouver Island in British Columbia. And each day I'm grateful for the ocean, the mountains, the trees that bring me joy. Feel free to add your own territorial acknowledgement in the chat if you like. Okay, before we start, can somebody update the ball game score in the chat tonight as we go? Because I know we're all kind of, it's off on the background, right? So our panelists this evening are going to talk about how upstream thinking can impact healthcare delivery and the associated costs. So by being proactive, we can prevent wounds like pressure injuries, and education and prevention save money. So we have three panelists tonight. I'll tell you about them and then we'll hear from them each. First, we have Kellen Brewer. Kellen was born and raised in the small towns of Wolseley and Wilcox. Did I pronounce that correctly? Mm-hmm. Good. In Saskatchewan. And she moved to Kelowna in 2004. So Kellen's been an LPN for 11 years and she has a background in massage therapy. She's worked in all areas, including long-term care, acute, and now privately at Lakeside Pharmacy. She's been there for 9 years. She works alongside 2 NSWOCs. Kellen also manages the home health care department in that pharmacy. And she finished the SWAN program in June 2025, and she brings a hands-on, compassionate approach to patient care. She's passionate about supporting others' well-being through skilled, empathetic, interdisciplinary, and person-centered care. We also have with us this evening Dana Dixon. Dana is a licensed practical nurse and SWAN specializing in wound ostomy and continence care. Her healthcare journey began in environmental services and then as an HCA, where she developed a deep interest in skin and wound care. And that passion led her to pursue nursing and further specialize in evidence-based skin health practices. With a strong foundation in direct patient care, Dana now plays a vital role in implementing personalized care plans, providing up-to-date education on best practices, and advocating for prevention strategies. She recently completed a quality improvement project focused on pressure injury prevention, which she presented to clinical peers, highlighting her commitment to improving patient outcomes and advancing nursing knowledge. And Dana will share some of that with you this evening. And finally, we have Michelle Carew, who is the Director of Care at Comox Valley Seniors Village on Vancouver Island. Originally from BC, she was able to experience 20 years of opportunities in Alberta before returning to BC in 2022. Michelle has worked with many mentors and action groups, including the development of provincial programs such as the Assisted Living Program, steering committees for establishing HCA core competencies, and pilot projects for utilizing nurse practitioners in community settings. She also worked closely with both clinical governing bodies and accredited educational institutions, developing enhanced curriculum and best practice requirements, as well as corporate processes and policies. Education's been a great passion that Michelle supports, and she's been an educator and instructor herself. Michelle says she was very pleased to participate in the Skin Wellness Associate Nurse Quality Improvement Project and to support the SWAN role in her team. So those are our panelists. And first, I'd like to invite Callan to tell us about her SWAN work. Callan, take it away.
Hi, as mentioned, I've been at Lakeside Pharmacy for the past 9 years, working very closely along two expert NSWACs that I've very grateful to have them on my side. Just seeing them make a difference in patients' lives and the outcomes that they've gotten positively just kind of led me into this role of moving on to the SWAN. What else? We see lots of patients daily, whether it's in the clinic or just coming in to get supplies or coming in for wound care supplies, continence supplies, catheter supplies. So our day is pretty much filled with patients or even clients coming in just to talk, to see the NSWACs, to see myself. It's private, so we're not associated with Interior Health or anything like that. So everybody has to pay at some point, whether it's for product or the wound care supplies or whatnot. The way we have a really close relationship with the other NSWACs in the community as well, just because we do tend to see some of them are more complicated patients or are more in need of being seen sooner than what Interior Health can get them in. But other than that, it's quite a busy time in the pharmacy there with us. So what else can I say? We do see quite a few new ostomies, quite a few of our ostomates that are just recently been discharged, but we see some of our longstanding ostomates on a regular basis just to, do a yearly check-in with them, make sure everything's well with them, their appliances are feeling well, that they're doing well, nothing's changed. So we do create a good relationship with our clients as well. So they feel comfortable coming in and coming in with their issues if they have any. What else can I tell you about Lakeside? We always have nurses there, Monday to Friday. What else? I just feel like we work well with not just in our area, but with other vasculars and vascular surgeons, the community nurses as well, just because we do see quite a few people within the community as well, and even like outer community. So to have those strong relationships and that is key in keeping our patients happy and healing in the positive way. So
Helen, I have a question.
Sure.
How did you come to have this position? Was it something that you created or was it offered to you? Did you apply?
So kind of a unique situation, I guess you could say. Lakeside Pharmacy is one of the only, well, I shouldn't say only, they've had nurses there for a few years, and the role that I came into, she wasn't a nurse to begin with. She was just the manager of the home health care department. She was there for 36 years, which is unreal. So to jump in there, as a nurse, I had a great background in obviously nursing and ostomy supplies and stuff like that. So that kind of just led me into the path of where I was going, and to be able to help with the foot care, the ostomy care, the continence, wound care. It just kind of fit into my wheelhouse. So it just kind of evolved into this nurse/manager role.
Excellent. And were you in the role before you took the SWAN program, or? Yeah. So did it make a difference having the SWAN education?
It did. It actually built on kind of my existing knowledge to give me more expert knowledge on skincare and healing and all that sort of stuff. So it just made it so it was easier transition, and that it was easier for me to educate people on things, and just to help out the NSWACs as well. So to make sure that, you know, I can follow their care plans quite easily, and follow up with them and look for them for advice as well. So.
And I was going to ask about that, your collaboration with the NSWACs. Do you touch base regularly? Do you
daily, hourly,
email?
minutely?
Daily.
They're there. They are there right with me. So it's really nice to have that mentorship right there. And I find it was really important in my education in this, in that I got the hands-on right away, and to know that it just built my confidence to be able to, you know, assess, plan, and implement care plans going forward. To have them right there, it was really nice to have that.
Well, sounds like you've got a unique experience.
We do, for
and
sure.
you're doing a lot of great work for your community, obviously. Yes.
I agree.
Thank you for sharing.
Does
anybody have a specific question for Kellen before we move on?
Kellen, I was going to ask you a question about how you apply the tri-specialty. So you said ostomies. Are you using continence at all in your practice, or wounds as well?
We do lots of wounds. We do lots of, not a lot of continence. We do more, well, continence for catheters mainly, but not necessarily continence for other issues. But we do quite a bit we do probably more wounds than anything else. So we do see quite the diversity of different types of wounds as well. But we do see, you know, our vascular wounds are arterial wounds where we have to be wrapping and whatnot, for both. It's quite the, from one end, from a skin tear all the way up to having someone wrapped for the last over a year and a half now.
Wow, that sounds so exciting.
Quite diverse.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing, Kellen. We'll come back to you. But I wanted to give Dana an opportunity to chat as well. Dana, you work as a member of an interdisciplinary team in long-term care. So can you share your perspectives about the SWAN role? I think Dana's got some slides she wanted to share.
Hi, everybody. My name is Dana Dixon. I'm an LPN SWAN. I work at Comox Valley Seniors Village. I've had the opportunity to run a quality improvement project here in 4 private care homes on Vancouver Island. The one I work at is the Comox Valley Seniors Village, with Shelley and Aaron providing education on pressure injury prevention and looking at heat maps. And so we can start the slides, and I'll give you a little bit of an opportunity to see what we've been doing, which has been quite interesting.
Say, are you able to move the slide forward?
Yep.
There
we go.
All right, so I'll let you guys have a quick browse over that instead of just reading it all to you. So we did a quality improvement project with the NSWACs, and I'll show you how that went. So with weekly skin rounds, streamlined processes, and clinical champions such as myself and all the other SWANs out there, the outcomes were actually quite amazing. We know from literature that doing rounds and having dedicated SWAN leaders make a difference in our role. What we did notice that Braden assessments to predict pressure injury risk and care plans had been completed late, and 42% of them on time. So that was one of the biggest bridge gaps that we had realized in the Bradens, is a lot of the time just the top part of the Braden wasn't filled out and the focus skin checks on the bottom. That part wasn't filled, but the top was. So that was one of the biggest things that I had found when I was looking over Braden. So providing education to nurses about how to fill out a Braden properly, and working on doing chart audits, treatment and repositioning plans and schedules with our residents, with care staff. So when we take a look at time cost of pressure injuries, if we take a look at lowering our numbers of stage 2 to 4 pressure ulcers by using best clinical practice, and also starting at getting the OT referrals, dietitian, and everything sorted at stage 1, we've seen a huge decrease in cost. So for instance, this graph here that's on the page here, this is from one of my residents at my facility. So the typical cost of a single coccyx stage 4 pressure injury in 5 months is approximately $16,480.67. So if you take a look at the offloading devices, the SWAN time, and the wound supplies alone, that is not even including OT, extra nursing hours of nurses that are changing the dressings other than me, so, and HCAs. So, you know, that also too affects the quality of life of our residents in long-term care. All right, so what did we do? We prevented heel and coccyx pressure injuries in high-risk residents. We did 12 weeks of weekly educational series. So it was lovely. We had some students come in, and Shelley gave us some good education tips about the proper use of silicone, zinc, and all those pieces that we have that I was able to give demonstrations for, which was very helpful. We also went over weekly care planning, referrals, assessments, and we had a huge support from other staff. So here are the results of our quality improvement project over the 12 weeks. So you can see here in the first week, we've gone from quite a high area in the middle there for stage 2, stage 1, stage 3, and then the healthy is at the top. So at the last week available on the left heel, we went up substantially with our healthy skin, and we can see that there on the bottom with the right heel and also the stage 1. Pretty impressive. They dropped 80% to 61, and that was just over 8 weeks. So what is the value of having the SWAN in your facility? That's the $1 million question. So what we do is showing that having a SWAN doing focused work, weekly education and interventions decrease the number of pressure injuries, saving nursing hours and wound care supply costs. It also gave the teams a sense of accomplishment. So after I've been at the Seniors Village, I'll be 2 years in January since I've been there and working on these projects, and Michelle giving me the opportunity to be able to create my own job. I've been really fortunate 2 days a week and doing the quality improvement project. On the heat map, we were at 5.9%, and now we're down to 1.9%. So, and what I try to remember and tell everybody is that there's no I in team. So sharing education, sharing all of the thoughts that we have, talking about rationale, coming up with best clinical practice evidence is truly what makes my job so rewarding, because without my team, there is no me, because it's about the support of our staff too.
Dana, while we just move on to the next slide, I think there might be something just in front of your laptop or something that might be scraping over the microphone. Just
Okay.
for the next slide. We can hear you clearly still though.
Okay. All right, so what is the value? So I just talked about that. So fewer late stage pressure injuries, 44%. Residents gained healthy skin, a cost savings of $3,300 per person per month on late stage, and a positive resident and nurse feedback. All right, so this is a little bit of me. Stories of impact. It's so funny looking at myself. So Mrs. H, a resident with a long-standing wound, says meeting myself was her lucky day. She's very grateful for the day when I first met her. As she said, how can I help you? And went to work to solve this problem. She continued to work on this hole in my body, never giving up once, but always gave me hope that it would heal and I can look forward to being well again. So that was an unstageable pressure injury, and that injury is fully healed and closed. So that was one of my big ones.
Congratulations, Dana. And it's about the residents, isn't it? It's about the people that we care for, that we do this work.
Yeah.
Well done. Well done. Dana, how long have you been a SWAN?
I have been a SWAN for, let me think here. I've been a nurse for 3 years. So it'll be coming up on 2 years, just after January, I believe, or March. Vita's on here. She can probably tell you I was part of cohort 8.
Excellent. And I know you work with an NSWAC in your area. Do you get to see your NSWAC regularly, or do you email back and forth? How do you communicate with your NSWAC to collaborate?
Well, Erin Ballard, the lovely Erin Ballard, she is my phone a friend. She would, if I was on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, she would be the first person I would call. Erin's great. I know with Shelly, I can send her an email by 6:30, but Erin, I got to wait till 8:30 with 2 cups of coffee. I do see Erin quite regularly. She'll come down every few months and see me, but she's always, I can call her at any time, send her a text, and she's super easy to collaborate with. Me and Erin work very closely together. I've learned a lot from her for sure. She's lovely.
Excellent. Is Erin on the call?
Yeah, she's on the chat. See, she said, yes, I do need my coffee.
She's probably laughing and shaking her head at me right now.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Fantastic work, Dana. That's amazing. And the data that you presented, Saya, can you go back a little bit with the 4 charts? Yeah. And that's just over the first few weeks, right, Dana?
Yes, it is.
That's amazing.
Yeah. The biggest,
that's incredible.
The takeaway for me was when me and Erin sat down and I actually went through cost per product per each time, and we went over all the care plans. I was absolutely floored at the cost, right? So having education by having the SWAN program and learning more about skin and the dressings, and having the wonderful Click website and knowing your rationale and giving your care plan with all the tools for people and why we're using these products makes a huge impact. That is my most favorite part, is educating. I find researching the dressings and everything so interesting, and learning to use them. So having that in the pocket and being able to share it makes a huge benefit.
I like learning about those things too. Dana, you talked about education. And I know that's a big part of the SWAN role. How was that for you in the beginning, providing education to your team, to now as a more experienced SWAN?
Well, it was quite difficult at first, and I really do not like to use the term hierarchy of nursing, but coming into a role of a SWAN with an LPN designation, a lot of the times roles ahead of bigger scopes, they have a hard time with adjustments. But I've been really fortunate that I have Michelle on my side. Michelle is a great diffuser, and she's also really supported me in my role by letting me basically design and implement all these tasks, right? So with Michelle on my side as my team member and my DOC, I've been fortunate, because there has been some bumps in the road of just everybody getting used to the role. Because as roles change, just when new step practices come out, we're kind of scratch our head and we're oh, okay. But then we look at the rationale and all of the reasons and the education and what's behind it, and which makes sense. So there has been some times, but like I said, Michelle's been great for that. So I thank her for that as well.
Excellent. Wow.
We just have 2 questions that sort of relate. Dana or Kellen could probably answer this. For those that are outside of British Columbia, can you speak more to the Connecting Learners with Knowledge website is the first question.
So, Oh, the SWANs maintain their continuing education. Well, I watch all these webinars, and Shelley sends out lots of emails, and I will click on and read, spend lots of time doing that. The Click website, I think that's maybe what that they were asking. It's the CLWK .ca website. It has best practice standards for all sorts of things. Shelley can probably speak a bit about it too. Every dressing that's on there, it tells you your rationale, what to use it with, what not to use it with, contradictions. If somebody needs to go for like an x-ray, like something like Acticoat, like they can't go into an MRI machine with that on. So there's certain dressings that you really have to like think of big picture when you're using them in your settings. So correct me if I'm wrong, Shelley. If you have anything to add to that, that would be great.
I don't. I'm wondering, Kellen, do you use the Click website a lot?
Yeah, we do. More so, I mean, we have our favorite dressings that we use quite a bit, but when there's something that's new and coming in and that we're just not quite sure of, we will definitely go to the Click and read about it and its application process and how to use it properly.
And Kellen, I know you do a lot of ostomy care. Do you use the Click website as an ostomy resource, or are you more likely to call an NSWAC and chat with them?
I think I have more of a unicorn position as a SWAN in my position, just because I do have the NSWACs right next door to me. So I will literally go and grab them first.
As Dana says, phone a friend.
Knock on the door. She's literally just next door. So
Erin's on speed dial. Sometimes I feel sorry for her, but it's okay.
Well, but that's that collaborative piece that we all work together, you know, achieving that higher goal of serving the folks that we're caring for, right? And if we can do that as a team, it makes everybody's job a lot easier. Yeah. There's just a couple of questions here for the SWANs, if they don't mind answering, and maybe I'll put this out to Kellen. And I know Dana spoke to it a little bit. Kellen, as a SWAN, how do you maintain your continuing education? You've got such a busy practice. How do you manage that?
By doing these things and reading up and doing that sort of stuff, and obviously tapping into my NSWACs for sure. The other thing that I've done is I've been able to go spend a day at the vascular clinic, a day with the urologist, a day at with the NSWACs in the hospital, and then a day at the community with the NSWACs there. So just doing that on a regular basis too, just to, you know, see what's out there, see what's new and that sort of stuff, just to keep my hands in it.
Yeah, there's lots out there, isn't there?
Yeah.
I'm also seeing a question from Miriam. Hi, Miriam. Thanks for joining us. Miriam has done some background education in wounds, incontinence, and ostomy and fistula, and was wondering about the SWAN certification. I think our lead academic advisor, Vita Johnson, is on the call. Vita, are you here with us? Nope, maybe not. We
Vita
will.
is here.
Sorry.
Oh, there she
Hi,
is.
Vita.
Hi there. I'm getting goosebumps. I'm sorry.
Aw.
It's like proud mama here. So the SWAN program, I'm assuming we've got some people who are interested in seeing if this would be a good fit for them. The SWAN program is a 6-month course, 5.5 month, 6-month course where we cover continence, ostomy, and wound. We focus on critical thinking, but the SWAN role, which is competency-based, which is CNA accredited, is for uncomplicated, stable continence, ostomy, and wound issues. We highly recommend that SWANs and NSWACs are working together as teams, where the SWANs are putting prevention in place, where the SWANs are initiating care, doing evaluations, and then if they're realizing this is a more complex issue or this is something that is not progressing the way we want, that they're working with their NSWAC to provide that care. There are certain types of wounds or continence or ostomy issues that are beyond stable, uncomplicated. Fistulas, in all honesty, I would say even some NSWACs would need guidance on dealing with a fistula because they are very unique, very complex. So while we discuss a little bit about it, it is not something that would necessarily be within a SWAN role to initiate care on. They can provide care with the NSWAC guidance, but it is not something to initiate. Fistulas, oncologic wounds, because they are so variable. Pediatric wounds or pediatric issues, because pediatric clients have so much potential or so much risk for developing complications. We want to make sure that they aren't just considered the same as a mini adult. So that would be a type of a client where we would expect a SWAN to be working with their NSWAC, having the NSWAC sort of guide the cares and then working from there. For continence, remember with the SWAN designation, it's not a certification yet, it's a designation. It will not change your scope of practice. Your scope of practice is based on your nursing designation. If you're an LPN, registered practical nurse or registered psychiatric nurse in BC, RPN, or an RN or a nurse practitioner, you have a scope of practice based on that designation. The SWAN education allows you to work to a greater extent within your scope of practice, but it does not change your scope of practice. So across the country, SWANs can do different things because their nursing designation is allowed to do different things in their jurisdiction. Does that answer the question?
I think it does, Vita. Thank you very much. There's been a few questions about the SWAN program, and in the chat, there are links to the SWAN program. You can have a look and see if it's something that will fit. Vita, myself, and Saya all are involved with the SWAN program, so we're happy to answer questions. I'll maybe maybe ask Kellen and Dana, maybe Kellen first and then Dana, to just comment quickly about your SWAN education, and then we're going to hear from Michelle. So Kellen, how did it go for taking the SWAN program?
It was good. It was challenging at times, but it was very laid out quite well. Easy enough, not easy enough, but like enough to be able to do on a daily basis without feeling overwhelmed while you're working and whatnot. So I felt that in my situation, having my two NSWACs there daily with me, I always asked them questions about certain things, what to do in this situation and whatnot for my preceptorship and that sort of stuff. But to have them as my mentors, it's really, like I said, I feel like I'm the unicorn SWAN because I had them alongside me and I still have them. So it is wonderful to have them there, but it just added to my learning for sure.
Thanks, Kellen. How about you, Dana? How was your SWAN education?
My SWAN education, I really enjoyed it. I'm a little bit slow on the textbook learning side. So Vita spent a lot of time one-on-one with me, just going over a lot of the stuff and the assignments. She was very amazing to get me going and started and got my confidence building. I really enjoyed the course. It was very interesting. I was always interested in wounds, ostomy, and continence prior to taking the course. So once I got started and getting used to all the computer stuff, it was really amazing. And Vita was always there to support me. She was my other phone a friend, definitely, before Erin took the new spot, but it was definitely worth it. I would recommend it to anybody just for the knowledge and for confidence building and learning more in your nursing practice and best practice, all those things. It made me feel really accomplished after I was done. And now that I can put that into play in my work, it's been really great for me. I love it a lot.
Thanks, Dana. We can see your passion. You and Kellen are obviously in the right jobs. Let's do a little bit of a shift and hear from Michelle. Now, Michelle, you're director of care, and I'm curious to hear from you about how you came to support Dana in her SWAN position, and what I think there's things in the background that you're looking at to expand Dana's work. If you could just share with us your thoughts. You're still muted. Sorry. Oh, still muted.
This time it does have the mute button on. You might just need to unmute. And we'll try now. Okay, no, still not connected. Okay. That's okay, you're gonna try on your phone. Okay, thank you.
It looked like Vita had her hand up there, Shelley. If Vita, you want to step in just as we're working on the audio.
Sure. I'm just seeing in the chat, there's some questions about the SWAN program. It's all online. It is 6 months. It is realistic to expect you're going to need to spend about 20 hours a week on the course. There are readings and modules. We have Teams calls 3 times a month where we're talking about case studies, about the assignments, about professional practice, about using catalogs, all kinds of different things like that. You will have an NSWAC as your academic advisor. And as Dana mentioned, as the academic advisor, our job is to support you and to ensure you're getting the understanding of the learning, to be there if you've got questions about the technology or the content or anything like that. The assignments are focused on you being able to demonstrate your critical thinking. And so doing things like a consult note where you're explaining why something is impacting your patient or why a recommendation is going to help. And they sort of build off of each other. But I think we've got a really great team of academic advisors. We've got Shelley and Svea here now. We are very passionate about your learning. It's going to be a big commitment to take the course, but it's doable. And we're definitely seeing results now coming from across the country of the impact SWANs are having in all areas of the care that we talk about. Anyways, thanks for letting me chat.
She's
Thanks,
on.
Vita.
And
is Michelle able to hop in?
Michelle, I did unmute the phone. Do you want to try on that?
Thank you. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yay!
Awesome.
You did it.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Michelle is a director of care at a long-term care facility. So Michelle, share with us your thoughts and insights.
Absolutely. So when I came on board here at Comox Valley Seniors and been working with Dana for some time, I come from a very strong background of developing policies, processes, working a lot with auditors, both on a corporate level, but also provincially on Alberta side. So when I came over here, it was really firmly entrenched, a lot of those best practice pieces. Also, when I came to the community, this particular community, it had some complex needs in the past. They really needed to pull up the standard of what the team was able to provide in services and care, and a lot of that comes with support networks from leadership pieces, which with Dana's help, we've built up over the last couple of years. And part of that was just making sure that education and best practice, because, we know the more you know, the more confidence and competence the staff feel. So it was really great. It was such an amazing opportunity when Dana came through our doors and we started working together and talking about some of those things and her passions. I remember the first conversations that Dana and I had, and she was telling me all about, she was going through the SWAN program. And it was great because it was one of the pieces that I had actually looked at. So I was very happy to see that there was another colleague, a nurse, that was looking at expanding that knowledge base for themselves. And I thought, what an amazing opportunity for us here, where our team were in a moment where they needed that extra passion and just someone there that's always got those pom-poms and rah, rah, rah. And if any of you have met Dana, you know she always has that drive, that energy. And it's very, very translated over to our team members. They love having her there. They, over the last while here, they've felt much more confident that they've got that expertise, that extra knowledge that's right there on site. Of course, Shelley, Aaron, you folks are always available, as Kaylin and Dana were talking about. You're just a call away. But it is really amazing for our team to know that they have that extra set of hands and extra set of thoughts just to, it's just a walk down the hallway, and they're there to help support with our residents. And being here in long-term care, it's a lot of wounds, changing wounds. It's a lot of end-of-life pieces. It's a lot of accidental slips, trips, and falls. So you've got a lot of skin tears. And that's where Dana and the MSWAP team have come in, and we had the opportunity to jump onto this pilot project, which has just been amazing. And I know Dana went through a bunch of statistics, so that wasn't really the perspective I wanted to take today. But one of the interesting things, and I don't know that Dana will know this, but this time last year, our end-of-life pieces, we had 2 between September and October. Just so far, between now, September, October of this year, we've had 10, which is a considerable expansion of where we're looking to utilize those best practices, things like Kennedy ulcers. I remember when Dana first came on board with the project, one of the things that you and I were chatting about was Kennedy ulcers. And, part of our questions today was, how has that impacted our team? I think there was one person out of about, we had just under 20 RNs, LPNs, and I think one of them knew what a Kennedy ulcer was. So, just having Dana go through, she's got this very dedicated plan. Each week she's working on something. She observes things. She, does in the moment education, but as she was discussing, she also has planned education. And that translates over to a lot of things. I had a call the other night. I'm on call, of course. And it was interesting. I had a healthcare aide from assisted living side that called me, and she had a resident who had a skin tear. And it was so fantastic. And Dana, I'm not sure that I actually shared this with you yet because it just happened, but she knew that stitches don't go into skin tears, that we should gently roll that into place. So that was one of those aha moments that I wanted to be able to share today, is just, seeing that translating, not just in our LPNs and our RNs, but it's moving into all the different fields. And another funny moment was when EMS showed up the other day and they wanted to put Tegaderm over top of this skin tear, and everybody stopped and kind of went back, and we're all looking at each other going, okay, well, who's going to ask them not to put a Tegaderm on there, because we know Dana's going to tell us to take it off. It just doesn't belong. So it's moving through. She's impacted so many lives, ourselves as leadership included, because I was one of the ones that said, we can't put that on there. We've all learned from Dana. We found a lot of the product use. One of the great things that Dana undertook, and that was an amazing, innovative piece, is we didn't have a binder before of all of our products, what to use them for. There's lots of resources out there, but you need to be able to on-site translate that to something that's easy, it's fast to use for our team. And Dana put that book together for us. She's helped the RNs translate those things into easy conversations with the LPNs and the RCAs on the floor, what to look for, how to report certain things, even just sometimes the verbiage and the wording that staff uses. We're seeing those cultivating and changing so that they're mirroring what those new best practice pieces that Dana and you folks are bringing to us, which is very rewarding, because we are seeing the staff commenting that, wow, it seems like wounds are healing faster these days, that is truly a testament to Dana and all of her hard work. And we know it's been a lot of banging the head on the wall and on the desk for Dana, and she has, in all seriousness, come across some very difficult pieces and times, which we've had to try to work together. And one of the things that she touched on was that collaborative approach, and how do the team members, the other people in our collective team, how do they see that? We don't want Dana feeling that she is being challenged or questioned for the rationale behind her things. It's good to have questions. It's good for us to learn from each other, but that has been one of the largest hurdles that Dana and I have faced together, is having, say, an RN look at a care plan that Dana has brought forward as the SWAN. And that's been a lot of communication, a lot of, I almost want to say hand-holding. You really have to have those good face-to-face talks in order to make something like this work properly. And we're making progress, still not perfect, obviously, but thanks to Dana, she comes back and she tries it over and over again with us, and we sit down and we have those good conversations. And obviously by the results, everyone saw the statistics there. We have dedicated progress that we've seen on our high indicators, and all of her own data shows that we are making progress and the best practice is taking hold. So we're seeing those things. My budget loves Dana. She certainly helped with those numbers for sure.
Michelle, I was hoping that you might touch on that. In the state of the world right now, where especially in British Columbia, where we're saving every penny that we can, you committed to a SWAN shift every week for Dana that came out of your budget before you even knew how this was going to go. It sounds like you're very pleased, but could you comment on that budget piece as someone who is, holding the reins there? Do you see SWAN as something that you would continue to invest in?
Oh, without question. We have a dedicated line. I'm extremely grateful. Through our senior leadership, they've provided us with an opportunity to have an extra LPN, and we earmarked that. I took that piece and moved it directly over to Dana because we knew the project was coming. And I'm very pleased to have, 5 days a week that is dedicated and it's earmarked for that, because of the things that we see. It's good for supply management and, our overhead cost factors on that. We've got someone that is directly on hand. We don't have to wait necessarily, although you folks are extremely timely through the portal app and the request. We have someone right on site. That also means that we don't have to necessarily bring in other folks to teach certain things. And again, it's that competence and confidence in our own team members. If they're feeling those things, that's also good for me for sustainability of my team members and, the resilience of our staff members, feeling that I can do these things on site. My own scope of practice as an LPN or an RN, they feel like they can tackle it because this is a very robust environment, and it can really tear people apart, on those hard days. So knowing that they've got a full resource team behind them is very rewarding. And, we hear that. That's one of the things that myself as part of the DOC team, myself and Nicole, we hear a lot that the staff feel much more confident knowing that Dana is quote unquote just down the hall. It's allowing them to feel confident that they've got the resources and stay in this remote environment, but it's also Dana teaching that best practice and making them feel more confident to practice their scope of skills as well. So it's, it has many layers to those pieces. And for me, the resilience and the sustainability is very critical because, you know, like you say, the economy, what it is, a lot of times you have staff who are looking for that dollar per hour. But I also, as the leadership person, I hear a lot about the benefit sides of things. What are those things that draws staff to stay in a role? And it's being happy, right? Knowing they've got full scope of skills, knowing that they're supported to do those things, such as Dana, and you know, moving forward, but ensuring that overall wholeness of our staff, not just our residents, our staff as well. That's a full picture, right? Because without my staff, I don't have residents. Without my residents, I don't have staff. So they have to go hand in hand, and I have to be able to respect that piece and make sure I cultivate both sides of it. And Dana's a big part of that.
Wow.
Does that answer it? Does that help?
I think it does. Wow, Dana. It sounds like, Michelle, am I understanding you to say that Dana will be moving into a full-time line as a SWAN? Is that what I hear you saying?
It's there, and we're only using part of it right now while she does the project. It's there. It's earmarked for her. It's hers. Wow.
Okay, so Dana, you've created yourself a full-time SWAN position. That's awesome.
Persistence. Michelle
That's
didn't
great.
talk about that part, but it's been, yeah. I'm still doing 2 days on my unit. I work in the special care unit, and I'm doing the 2 days as a SWAN, and we're gonna look at going forward what the picture would look like for me to do more days, but we're still working out those details when we're gonna make a bigger plan. So that's where that's going. So I'm excited. Thank you, Michelle.
You're welcome.
Wow.
Thank you.
What a great team. We've got some amazing SWANs on this evening. Thanks for Vita answering some questions. Does anyone have, there's a couple of Q&As here that we'll bring forward. Does anybody have a question for Kellen about her clinic that she is managing and running, for Dana in her work in long-term care, or for Michelle from a management perspective? You can unmute if you want, or put it in the chat. I'm going to look at our Q&A here. There's a number of questions about the SWAN program. Saya, do you want to?
Well, I was just going to say to Kellen or Dana, as the only SWAN in a private long-term care facility where there's no LPN or RPN position and no other staff members from Walk Institute to work with, how can you suggest ways to advocate for best practice regarding skin and wounds? It sounds like persistence was a really big.
And I also think, like, joining meetings like this, like, you know, when we talk about, like, when all the webinars and everything, wouldn't you say, Kellen, like the webinars and being present and getting to like join in all these meetings is so much education. There's so many great minds in here, and listening to everybody talk and like learning their language and finding out new like things. It's been really amazing. Like, I spend a lot of time watching like webinars that have been pre-recorded, all those types of things. I would say definitely like the biggest hub is here, like as a group. Wouldn't you say, Kellen?
Yeah, networking for sure. Reaching out to anybody that would be able to listen to you and support you along the way, for sure. But networking is what you need to do to be able to help support yourself, for sure.
Thanks, ladies. Another question here about certification. Is Vita still on the call?
Vita's still on the call.
Vita, can you see the question about certification to be considered? Okay, I'll read it to you. So, someone lives in BC, an LPN working mainly as a wound care nurse collaborating with NSWACs. What certification could I obtain to be considered a SWAN, and how would that certification benefit me? So
So
maybe Vita will answer the first part, and then the SWANs can answer how the certification would benefit them.
okay, so SWAN, as I mentioned earlier, is a designation. It is a Canadian Nursing Association accredited program in the tri-specialty, wound, ostomy, and continence. It is not a certification. So if you're thinking about the CNA certification programs, that is coming. Basically, CNA approached us before the SWAN program even existed. First SWAN program ran January of 2020. And CNA is very interested in setting up a certification for LPNs, RPNs, diploma RNs that have the SWAN designation. We need a critical mass of people who have taken the course. We've had 400 SWANs graduate already. We need to be around 500 before CNA will create the certification process, because it is a costly process, but it is in the works. We are expecting it in the next couple of years. Until then, the SWAN designation, the only way to get the SWAN designation is by taking the SWAN course, Skin Wellness Associate Nurse course. There are other courses available that provide generally education about wounds predominantly. They may provide you with comparable knowledge about wounds, but the Tri-Specialty Wound Ostomy and Continence Institute is the only place to find a course like that. The SWAN program is for RPNs, LPNs, RPNs in BC, diploma RNs. All of those nurses are not eligible to take the NSWAT course, Nurse Specialized in Wound Ostomy Continence. If you have a baccalaureate of nursing, Bachelor of Science of Nursing, if you're an NP, you are required to do the NSWAT course. You're not eligible to take the SWAN course. Does that answer the question?
Thank you, Vita. We have 2 minutes left. And if we could have Kellen first and then Dana answer second, how has doing the SWAN program benefited your practice, your life? Kellen first.
It's literally probably enhanced my professional development as an LPN easily, just by giving more clinical knowledge and practical skills, just being more hands-on, using evidence-based learning, just being able to learn more continuously and being able to apply it in our everyday needs for wounds and skin wellness in general. So it's great to have the mentorship and being able to be collaborative with my NSWACs, and it's just made it easier, not easier, but made it so that I can contribute more for that.
Excellent. Dana.
I would agree with everything that Kellen said, and also my biggest takeaway from this course and being in long-term care is that every time I leave my job, my heart is full. So that is my biggest takeaway from working in long-term care and being able to help people that are like, at the end of their life, and spending that time with them and giving them what they deserve. That is like my biggest truly takeaway and why I chose long-term care. So it's such a fulfilling job. I would highly recommend. There's so much education, so much to learn, and you grow so much as like an individual. And I noticed that when I started taking my care aid, and then I did my LPN, and then I did my SWAN, you just learn so much about yourself. And that's like a gift as well, because then you get to share all the things you learn with people. It's just, yeah, I hope that all sounds right, but of course it does. I mean,
I think so, yeah. And I think, Dana, that's what Michelle was talking about, was that satisfaction in your work that nurses are desperately seeking in, all of the budget cuts. We need a reason to go to work, to stay at work. And these are the kinds of things that make the difference. Michelle's nodding. I think I got that right, Michelle? Yeah, Michelle's still muted. Okay. One more question, and maybe this is for Dana. How many residents in your facility then have produced a full-time SWAN line?
How many,
Maybe Michelle?
how many people? Sorry. Yeah, that's a,
Sorry,
Yeah.
I missed that.
So, yeah, maybe Michelle can talk to that. Michelle, somebody's asking about, how many residents needing SWAN intervention would generate a full-time SWAN line? Or did you base it on something else?
I actually based it on something else. So our direct care hours and how many of our qualified nurses, professional nurses, are required on a daily, weekly basis. That's actually part of it. And we took a piece of that and we carved it out specifically for and then added LPN, and more specifically, recently, we tagged that for someone like Dana to move into as a SWAN nurse, because it's incredibly full when it comes to dealing with wounds, ostomies, even catheters, right? Dana's worked with some of our folks with catheters as well. So on that piece, I mean, right now, goodness sakes, 2 days, and I was trying not to go too heavy into the statistics, but currently, I mean, we have just about 125 residents, and I would say at least 75% of them in one form or another need Dana, because you've got your routine regular pieces for something that is being worked on as a care plan, such as, wound healing or something. But then you have all of those emergency and urgent pieces too. So that has to take up a portion of your thought process as well, right? And I think it's fair to say, oh my goodness, I looked up the statistics for how many falls we had last year. It was staggering. I mean, it's long-term care. What are you going to do? We have a quite a healthy fall prevention program. However, that said, there was something in the neighborhood of at least 1,200 falls in one quarter, which is a lot considering, and that's potentially sometimes multiple falls by multiple residents with no injury, but all it takes is one skin tear for us to need a referral over to Dana and her expertise, because part of what both of us have identified is that knowledge gap. Something as simple as, yes, you can move that skin tear back into place. Or as Dana has helped us remember, is that, if you've got a wound, you have to clean it with at least 100 mils of saline. And that was one of the big pieces just in the last few months that we were roaming around going, okay, quick pop quiz. How many mils of saline do you need in your wound care kit? Right?
minimum.
So
Depending on the size.
minimum.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit hard for me to break down into an actual number, because it's like an onion. There's many layers to it, right? There's the wound care protocols, there's the best practice, there's the learning and education pieces, as well as the urgent and routine measures. So there's a lot of things that I look at the veracity of, why am I going to put something like this into a budget?
Wow. This is fantastic. I thank you, all three of you panelists. I really feel like you were able to bring such a collaborative approach to the benefit of SWAN nursing. Michelle, with your background, and Dana and Kellen with your SWAN experience. So we just want to be mindful of your time. So we thank you very much for taking the time this evening, or when you do watch the recording, for attending this webinar. Please do check out the SWAN program, as we've posted the Walk Institute SWAN location for you to access more information, and we would be happy to answer more information that you might have around the benefit of attending this program. So with that, said, we thank you again from Shelley and myself for attending, and from the panelists, we thank you very much for your time and your knowledge and your expertise in really promoting wound ostomy and continence nursing across British Columbia. Thank you very much.
Good night, all. Thank you.